Okay, hi. My name is Lucy, and I'm both at Harvard and the Okinawa Institute of Science and Technology in Japan. And these are my wonderful collaborators. And in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to tease you with a computational idea applied to a lesion study in rodents. So the title of this idea is Policy Regularization in the Brain Enables Robustness and Flexibility. Now, the big question I'm trying to tackle here is, how does the brain support behavior that is both efficient and flexible with limited cognitive resources? To tackle this question, we need to first define what we mean by cognitive resources. And one way to do this is to define it as the number of bits needed to encode a control policy relative to a default policy, which is also known as the KL divergence between the control and default policies. For an agent whose goal is to maximize reward under limited cognitive resources, the optimal control policy strikes a balance between choosing the most rewarding action in the current state and repeating a default policy that you tend to use frequently. In other words, the optimal control policy is regularized by the default policy towards a low-cost solution. So this means that the more different the control policy is from the default, the more costly it is. To make this a little bit more concrete, I'll give an example. So imagine that you are a chef and your default signature dish to cook is spaghetti and meatballs. Now, you've made it so many times that you could cook it with your eyes closed, okay? This is your efficient default policy. Now, making any other noodle dish, such as ramen, might include some of the same steps, so it's still relatively easy for you. But if you try to make something different, like sushi, then it's going to be much more effortful. But this kind of flexibility is also necessary if you want to become a better chef. So the intuition here is that it's cheaper for the brain to execute a default behavior, and the more different a behavior is from the default, the more expensive it is. Now, we want to understand how each of these components in the model might map onto different areas of the brain. In particular, we focus on two substructures within the basal ganglia, the dorsal medial and dorsal lateral striatum. So specifically, I thought that the DLS might represent the default policy that stores frequently used action patterns, while the DMS could be responsible for flexibly learning state-action relationships. To test these predictions in the brain, we teamed up with Ben Sejlovecki's lab at Harvard, who have developed a unique piano motor sequence learning task for rats. So there's two kinds of action sequences. The first are visually cued. So in this task, the animals are provided with a light cue, and they have to tap a lever underneath each cue. And so to give you a sense of what that looks like, it's very cute. The second kind of task is an automatic task. So as it sounds, the animal is trained to just produce one type of sequence over and over and over again. And they do this without cues. So you can think of the automatic task as the default behavior, if you will. So our model predicts that a DLS lesion should eliminate the animal's ability to perform the automatic task, but not the cued visual task, since we hypothesized that DLS stores or represents the default policy. And it turns out that the data from the animals matches the model's predictions. Next, our model predicted that a DMS lesion actually wouldn't affect the animal's ability to perform either task if it's already learned both tasks. This is because we specifically hypothesized that DMS is responsible for flexibly learning. And so if you already learned the two tasks, then you're not going to be affected if you lesion DMS. But then what if you lesion DMS before learning? For that result, you can come to my poster. But to leave you with a visual takeaway, we use KL regularization to model how the brain areas work together to balance the automatic and efficient execution of learned behaviors with the flexibility to learn new behaviors. Thank you.